What's it like to start fresh in Japan with 500,000 yuan? Hi, I'm Hua, and I run a guest house in Osaka. I sold a 100 square meter apartment in a small town, earned 500,000 yuan, and moved to Japan.
While 500,000 yuan, around $70,000 might not seem like much, it was enough for vlogger Hua to establish a comfortable life in Japan. Starting with a modest guesthouse business alongside friends, she eventually turned a profit and grew her operations into a full-fledged company. This method of using guesthouses to secure a visa attracted many from China, but recently, the process has become much more challenging. On August 26, Japan's Immigration Services Agency, under the Ministry of Justice, announced a draft proposal to raise a threshold for the business manager visa and added new requirements. It's over. The loophole It's over. The loophole of moving to Japan with 250,000 yuan has been closed. Now, the number of Chinese people moving to Japan is likely going to decrease. Just a heads up, this is a signal. Japan's Immigration Services Agency doesn't want Chinese people, especially wealthy ones, coming in, because the draft proposal clearly states that the business manager visa is going up from 5 million yen to 30 million yen and will be enforced starting mid-October. That's not the important part. The important thing is that in the media, they said this policy is aimed at curbing the influx of Chinese immigrants who don't align with the program's original purpose. Under current regulations, investing more than 5 million yen or $34,000 allows a foreigner to start a company and obtain a residence visa for up to 5 years. Starting this October, the standard will rise sharply to over 30 million yen, 6 times higher. Applicants must also hire employees and provide education and work experience records. Japanese media note that the main reason for tightening the policy is a high number of Chinese residents using this visa. According to Japan's Immigration Services Agency, by the end of 2024, 21,740 Chinese people held business manager visas, more than double the figure in 2015, and over half of all the visa holders. Many focus on running guest houses, which stray from the visa's original intent. Because there were no restrictions on age, education, or language, many Chinese set up companies only to obtain visas. These businesses contributed little to the Japanese economy and in some cases became linked to crime. Compared with countries in Europe and the United States, Japan's residency requirements are relatively low. As a result, many Chinese immigration agencies in Japan have specialized in handling business manager visas. Veteran journalist Akio Yaita summarized that this tightening is only the first step in Japan's broader move to restrict foreign residents. Whether Tokyo will later introduce more measures specifically targeting Chinese applicants has become a focal point in politics and public opinion. Japanese social activist Hirano Uryu, who recently visited Taiwan, also voiced concerns about China's growing influence in Japan. She repeatedly called for stricter visa screening for Chinese applicants. Hirano gained support of more than 230,000 voters in the recent House of Councilors election, showing that this issue is resonating with the Japanese public. According to a report by Nikkei Asia on April 13, wealthy Chinese buyers are rapidly acquiring popular tourist destinations in Japan. In 39 municipalities, at least 67 tourist facilities have been bought by Chinese investors. Hotspots include Niseko in Furano in Hokkaido, Hakuba in Nagano, Nikko and Nasu on the Tochigi-Gunma border, Hakone in Kanagawa, and Atami and Izu in Shizuoka. Hannan University professor Yoshihisa Matsumura, who specializes in tourism geography, found that by the end of 2024, there were 5,587 officially recognized special zone guest houses in Osaka, with 41% run by Chinese individuals or companies. After the pandemic, applications for residence visas through the Business Manager Program surged in Osaka, especially among Chinese-running guest houses. Japan's Yomiuri Shimbun reported that posts on Chinese social media promote guest house immigration with claims such as no education or Japanese required, and visa approval in 3 months, along with tips on moving quickly to Japan. Traditionally, guest houses in Japan meant short-term lodging for tourists, but recently they have become a gateway to immigration for many Chinese. Local residents have expressed concern. In Osaka's Nishinari Ward, a 68-year-old woman who has lived there for nearly 40 years told reporters that after the pandemic, nearly all the guest houses in her neighborhood are Chinese-owned. The issue has also drawn online debate in Japan. Some comments include, a Chinese community is forming inside Japan. The government needs stronger regulation. Another noted, Chinese immigrants can use healthcare benefits for free, buy land easily, exchange driver's licenses, and naturalize with little difficulty. Others criticize the ruling party. Why is this only being reported now? It has been a problem for years. Nikkei reported that in Tokyo and other areas, Chinese immigrants can live comfortably even without speaking Japanese. One such area is around Ikebukuro Station, one of Tokyo's busiest districts, where a new Chinatown has formed. Restaurants serve authentic Chinese food, and shops sell Chinese products and mobile phones to a mainly Chinese clientele. In nearby Saitama Prefecture's Kawaguchi City, the Kawaguchi Shibazono housing complex has 2,454 households, about half of which are Chinese. The complex is managed by the Urban Renaissance Agency, an independent administrative body responsible for rental housing development. Shops in the area are mostly Chinese-run, including restaurants, grocery stores with Chinese language price tags, pharmacies, and kindergartens for Chinese children. Sarufutsu Village in northern Hokkaido was designated in 2004 as a special zone for foreign trainees, bringing in skilled workers to learn scallop harvesting. Today, 3.4% of its population is Chinese. Other areas, such as Tobishima Village in western Aichi Prefecture and Kawakami Village in Nagano Prefecture, have also recruited many Chinese workers, raising the proportion of Chinese residents. Population data from the Basic Resident Register show that in September 2014, about 26,000 Chinese lived in Osaka. By September 2024, the number reached 49,999, nearly double within a decade and close to 50,000. According to Japan's Immigration Services Agency, by the end of 2024, there were more than 3 million foreign residents in Japan, including 870,000 Chinese. This was up from 762,000 a year earlier. The number is expected to exceed 1 million by 2026.
I really didn't expect this. Last year, 3,122 Chinese people became Japanese citizens. In 2024, the largest group of people gaining Japanese citizenship was actually from China. It's the first time in 50 years that it surpassed South Korea.
As China's economy slows, real estate prices drop, and the Chinese government tightens social control. More and more Chinese people are turning to Japanese property markets. Both population and capital are flowing into Japan. According to the Financial Times, over 20 Chinese residents in Tokyo were interviewed, and they reveal that in cities like Shanghai, the hottest topic at dinner parties is how to move to Tokyo or Osaka and settle there. A Chinese bookstore owner in Tokyo, Zhang Jieping, shared that these conversations start with a simple question: how long do you plan to stay? This usually signals that the topic will shift to immigration details. She explains, that's when people start talking about visas. Over a 3-hour dinner, about 2 hours are spent discussing visa requirements, how to leave China, how to marry locals, rent housing, bring family members over, and move money. Every lunch and dinner ends up being a discussion about Japan. These conversations reflect a shift in perspective about Japan. Despite essentially losing 30 years, with apparent economic decline, Japan has succeeded in many areas. It ranks high in global indices for peace, economic freedom, and property rights. While other countries face political instability, Japan's politics has remained stable and adaptable. It offers reliable healthcare, freedom of speech, safe streets, excellent services, and amazing food. Zhang Jieping believes that in addition to practical considerations, this migration also carries ideological weight. Over the past 30 years, the Chinese mindset has been leaving China is always better. They moved from the countryside to townships, then to cities, then big cities, and finally to the United States. Now the migration is about moving to Tokyo. However, alarms are now sounding. Chinese buyers have driven up property prices in Tokyo, making them out of reach for many Japanese. The Japanese government has been forced to tighten requirements for the business manager visa, which many Chinese use to stay in Japan. In the 2025 Senate election, anti-immigration sentiments are becoming more vocal. Some predict a nationwide nationalist backlash is looming. Despite this, the community of Chinese migrants in Japan has given Tokyo a new status, one that was unexpected and hard to quantify. Whether in cafes in Jinbocho criticizing Beijing, or middle-class families searching for apartments near good schools, wealthy individuals settling along Tokyo's waterfront, or top elites moving into upscale areas like Azabu, Aoyama, or Akasaka, Tokyo is being reshaped as a safe haven for Chinese people. but many have found the behavior of some Chinese newcomers disappointing.
同胞们啊，同胞们呐，在外面还是给我们其他同胞留条活路吧。
Fellow countrymen, please, leave a path for the rest of us. There's already been too much of this cutting down trees and leaving the next generation out in the sun situation. One vlogger shared a story from his trip. After flying back from Osaka to Hangzhou, he passed through customs at Osaka Kansai Airport. A Chinese family of 3, likely eager to pass through quickly, has split up to stand in 3 different lines. The father's line was moving the fastest, and as his turn neared, his daughter rushed from another line to cut in. The vlogger noticed a Japanese officer staring at the family. Clearly puzzled by the actions, the officer likely thought, they were standing in line, why are they cutting ahead now? After the father and daughter cleared customs, the mother almost reached the front of her line, but instead ran over to join the father's line, blocking the vlogger's way. A female customs officer quickly apologized, saying, "Sorry, I think someone skipped ahead earlier, causing your delay." The vlogger noted that the queue jumping is seen as a serious and unacceptable act in Japan. Though the family didn't appear to be poorly educated, they might not have realized how significant their actions were. He urged Chinese people to respect local customs when abroad, follow basic international etiquette, and avoid behavior like cutting in line, being loud, eating while walking, or littering. In addition to the behaviors previously mentioned, there are other negative actions commonly seen among some Chinese people. As we pointed out in earlier videos, we won't go into detail here. Under the rule of the Chinese Communist Party, many Chinese people have lost traditional manners and morals. With education that prioritizes hard work through rough conditions, many no longer receive basic teachings on etiquette. Scholar and poet Su Xiaohe recently stated on social media that to earn the respect of locals, one must act with civility or risk being forced out. Many Chinese people in Japan ignore the rules and engage in criminal activity, while the Japanese value order and cleanliness. He believes these behaviors could eventually lead to anti-immigrant sentiments in Japan. He also noted that the global political landscape is rapidly changing, with increasing anti-immigrant voices. In addition to Japan, in Seoul, South Korea, people are calling for Chinese nationals to leave. Recently, in Australia and New Zealand, large groups have opposed immigration. He urged Chinese immigrants and those seeking freedom abroad to conduct themselves with dignity, follow local rules, fulfill their civic responsibilities, respect the laws, pay taxes, and avoid trouble or crime. Otherwise, you may face the risk of not being allowed to return to China, where the CCP could take action, while also facing rejection in your host country. Su Xiaohe's concerns are valid. Beyond Japan's tightening of business manager visas for Chinese nationals, policies targeting Chinese people are also appearing in the United States and Australia. In Texas, Senate Bill 17 took effect on September 1, 2025, restricting individuals and companies from China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia from purchasing or leasing property. SB 17 was introduced earlier this year and was signed into law by Texas Governor Greg Abbott on June 20th. He called it the toughest ban in the U.S., aimed at stopping foreign hostile forces. The bill prohibits certain individuals and entities from countries identified as national security threats from purchasing properties in Texas, including residential, commercial, and agricultural land. It also restricts their lease agreements to no longer than 1 year. China is the first country specifically named in the bill. It accuses Beijing of using coercive, subversive, and malicious activities to weaken the United States in an effort to surpass the U.S. economically, militarily, and politically. While North Korea, Russia, and Iran are also included in the bill, the reality is that, apart from purchases made by Chinese companies and capital, there are almost no examples of citizens or entities from these 3 countries threatening U.S. national security through land and property purchases. Therefore, this bill is essentially targeting Chinese nationals, but fundamentally, it's aimed at the CCP. The CCP is the one trying to surpass the U.S. If the CCP were no longer in power, China might be removed from the list of banned countries. Australia has cancelled its golden visa, cutting off another escape route for wealthy Chinese nationals. In Australia, the Golden Visa program, officially known as the Business Innovation and Investment Program, was introduced in 2012. Unlike other visa programs, the Golden Visa did not require foreign immigrants to learn English or meet any age restrictions. It only required foreign nationals to invest 5 million Australian dollars for 5 years to gain residency. According to the Australian Department of Home Affairs, over 100,000 overseas immigrants have used the program to obtain residency in Australia since 2012, with 85% of successful applicants coming from China. About 26,000 have successfully gained permanent residency. Over the years, the program has also been found to serve as a channel for corrupt officials from authoritarian countries to move illicit funds. The collapse of China's economy has accelerated the migration of wealthy Chinese in the middle class. By canceling the Golden Visa, Australia has closed an important route for wealthy Chinese nationals to migrate. Former political consul at the Chinese consulate in Sydney, Chen Yongling, told Radio Free Asia that while Chinese millionaires have had limited impact on the Australian economy, they bring with them undesirable practices, ideologies, and political influence. So, whether moving to Japan, the US, or Australia, Chinese people will only gain acceptance in the international community once they free themselves from the CCP's control, abandon these bad habits, and return to traditional morals and etiquette.